Hi everyone, this is Surya from NIT Technology working as a senior test engineer. In this particular session, I'm going to discuss about the most trending and interesting topic in the market, that is Python. So Python is a very useful nowadays, and this is a very much used in the industry nowadays. That's why I'm creating this session for you, and let's get started the session. Before starting the session, we are going to discuss about the what are the content I'm going to discuss in this particular session. So contents are what is the Python, where we can use the Python, feature of the Python, history of the Python, various flavor of the Python, which companies nowadays using the Python, and limitation of the Python. Now, without wasting the time, let's get started the session and come to the very first point of the Python. What is the Python? Python is a multi-paradigm programming language. Yes, this is the very first point regarding the Python. The multi-paradigm programming language. A language is called multi-paradigm if it having the feature of it having a characteristics of all the various programming methodologies. See, actually every programming language having some kind of programming methodology. You can say that programming approaches. See, procedure-oriented is one of them. Object-oriented is one of them. Object-oriented, procedure-oriented, functional-oriented, functional programming language, scripting language. These are all various categories of programming methodology. See, actually every programming language follows some kind of programming methodology, and this is hard and fast. You must have to follow this programming methodology. If you talk about the C follows the procedural oriented programming methodology. Means in C, before creating a program, firstly you have to create a function and then you have to write the logic inside it. And Java follows the object oriented methodology. And in object-oriented methodology, before creating the program, firstly you have to create a class and then create a function, member function inside it, and then you have to write the logic. But what Python says? Python says Python is a flexible programming language. It having a feature of procedure-oriented programming language like C. It having a feature of functional programming language like Lisp. It having a feature of object-oriented programming language C++ and Java. It having a feature of scripting programming language like Perl and Shell script. So these are various features available in a Python. So they are optional. They are optional concept in a Python. If you want to write any kind of logic inside any program, you can create the function, or you don't. If you don't want to create the function, you can also write the logic indirectly into the editor. Yes, exactly. In a Python, they are not forced to the developer. You must have to creating the classes and objects, or you have to create some kind of function, then you can write the logic. You can directly write the logic into the editor, right? So that's why we are saying it is a multi-paradigm programming language which having a characteristics of various programming methodologies. Yes, Python is also a general purpose programming language. The high level general purpose programming language means what? This language is used to develop a number of applications and used everywhere. That's why we are saying Python is not intended to work a particular area, such as web programming. That's why it is also known as multi-purpose programming language, because it is used to develop with various kind of application like web application, desktop application, enterprise application, 3D CAD application, etc. Means it is not limited to develop this particular area. Like if we talk about the PHP is limited to develop the web application only. It is not used to develop the desktop application, but Python is used to develop the web as well as desktop application. There is only one limitation of the Python. Python is limited to web, desktop, and data science, these kind of area. Python is not used to develop the mobile application. There is only one limitation with the Python, and about the limitation we'll talk later in the next slide. But come to the next point of the Python. It is the imperative programming language. Imperative programming language are those language where we can write the logic at the top level of the any editor. Just open the editor and write the logic without creating the class and without creating the objects, without creating the any kind of function. See, actually in previous programming language is Java. If you wanted to create any kind of logic in a Java, so firstly you have to create the class, and then you have to create the function, and then you have to write the logic. So here question is, why we are creating the class? Why we are creating the function? If we don't want to create the object of the class, so why we are creating the class? So this is in the mind of Python creator. They think about it and make the flexibility to the developers. You can write your logic without creating any kind of function, without creating any kind of classes and objects. And this is called imperative programming features. Yes, Python is the imperative programming language. In Python, all variables are by default reference type. There is no any concept of primitive data type. Yes, in Python, there is also no concept of type, size, range of the variable concept. Yes, all the variables are by default are reference type. It is interpreted programming language. This is another feature of the Python. It is an interpreted programming language. If you talk about the previous programming language like C and C++, they are the compiled programming language. And if you talk about the Java, so it is a compiled as well as interpret programming language. There is some kind of compilation and then interpretation. But in Python, you can just simply write a logic, and this logic don't need to compile it. It is just going to be like interpreted by the interpreter. But yes, this is a flexibility again given by the Python. By default, Python is interpreted. But you can forcibly compile the Python program. The myth industry is just Python is only a interpreted programming language. No, Python is not only interpreted programming language. You can also compile the source code of the program. You can just think like this. If you are the Python developer and you are creating a source code of a Python, just py file, and then you are just interpreting this program. Okay. But suppose you want to give this particular source code to your client. So can you are you comfortable with provide this source code to the client? No, we are not directly provide the source code to the client. That's why we are compiling the code and then provide the object code to our client, so that source code cannot be directly given to our client. Just that's why we are saying Python is a default interpreted and forced compiled programming language. We can compile the Python program. Yes, it is a interesting fact about the Python. Python is also a dynamic and dynamically typed programming language. What is the meaning of dynamic and dynamically typed? We'll talk later. It is also open source and community driven language. It is a modular programming feature. From Modula 3, source code can be compiled and run just in a time. Syntax of Python is taken from the C and ABC language. Python is easy to learn, a powerful and versatile scripting language which makes an attractive application development. And the syntax and dynamic typing with the interpreted nature makes it an ideal language for scripting and rapid application development. So these are all introduction of the Python. Now come to the topic where we can use the Python. As in previous slide, I discussed Python is a general purpose programming language. Means this language is not limited to the particular area. Using Python, you can develop the desktop application, web application using Django and Pyramid. So these are the technology by which we are developing the web application in a Python. Database application you can develop, gaming application you can develop, data analytics application, machine learning, AI, IoT, 3D CAD application, enterprise application, and console based application. So these are all various areas where we can cover using the Python. Means Python is not intended to create some kind of a specific software. This is used to develop the n number of application. If using Python you can develop, there are so many categories of application softwares. Yes. Now come to the point, what are the features of Python? Python having so many features, and some of the features are very interesting. The very important feature of the Python is the simple and easy to learn. Python is easy to learn and use. A developer friendly language and high level programming language. Just because of in a Python, if a person who is in the standard of LKG can easily learn the Python. Just because of their imperative feature, just because of their, you can say that, multi-paradigm feature. Because in a Python, this is not forced to the developer. Before creating the program, firstly you have to write the header file. Before creating the program, firstly you have to create a class. If you talk about the C and C++, firstly you have to creating the header file hash include stdio.h, then creating the main function inside it, and inside the main function then you have to write the logic. So every developer must have a knowledge about the header file function at all. And if you talk about the Java, in Java you have to create a class and objects, then you have to write the logic. But Python says simply open the editor and just write the logic inside it. You don't have to understanding about the classes and objects and function at all. So that's why it makes very simple. That's why it makes very simple programming language. And it is also free aware and open source. If a technology is open source, source code is open, and software is a free license. So Python language is freely available at official web address, and the source code is also available. So it is open there. Therefore, it is open source programming language. And the language is open source, source code is available, free of cost, and software is a free license, so development cost of the application is going to be reduced. Another point of the Python is it is a dynamic and dynamically typed programming language. So there is some difference between dynamic and dynamically typed programming language. So Python having both feature. It is a dynamic also, and it is a dynamically typed also. It having a feature of both programming methodology. Now come to the point of what is a dynamic type programming language and what is the meaning of dynamic and dynamically typed programming language. See, on the basis of behavior, there are two types of mainly programming language. One is static programming language and another is a dynamic programming language. If we talk about the static programming language like HTML, there is no any concept of data type, operator and looping concept. You cannot directly write a logic inside not a logic. You can say that you cannot directly write any kind of business logic into the HTML. You can simply write a presentation logic into the HTML, but if you want to create a sum of two number program in HTML, there is no any kind of facility available in HTML because there is the static programming language, not static type, static programming language. And what's the meaning of dynamic? Dynamic programming language are those languages which having a feature of data type, variable, operators, looping concept by which we can write our business logic into the program. Like C, C++ and Java and Python, they are all dynamic programming languages. So on the basis of behavior, there are two categories, static and dynamic. Static programming language and dynamic programming language having these differences. Now, if we talk about the C++, Java and Python, so they are dynamic and dynamically typed programming language, right? They are dynamic but not dynamically typed programming language. Comes to the point, again I am clearing this particular point, C and C++, Java, they are the dynamic but not dynamically typed programming language. Now the question is, if they are dynamic, but why they are not dynamically typed? Because if a programming language is dynamically typed, who having some certain features. Because dynamic programming language is different one and dynamically typed programming language is a different. C++, Java and Python, they are a dynamic language, but they are not dynamically typed. Only Python is a dynamically typed programming language. Java, C++ is not a dynamically typed. And dynamically typed programming language are those languages which having the following feature. What are the features? Type, size and range of variable are decided at runtime. Yes, every statically typed programming language like C++ and Java, they are the statically typed. Yes, they are the dynamic, but they are statically typed because the type and size and range are decided at compile time there, right? So whenever you are creating any kind of Java program, any kind of C program, firstly you have to declare the variable with their type, and every variable must have their size as well as their range. But in dynamically typed programming language, there is no concept of like type, size and range of the variable. These are all things are decided at runtime. And another point is we can change the type of variable at runtime, like from int to float, from int to double, etc. You can dynamically decide your type of the variable, and there are no any concept of primitive data type. Also, all the types are reference type. There is another feature of the dynamically typed programming language. And variable does not directly store the particular value. It stores the address of the particular value. So what is the meaning? Now come to the discuss with an example. What is the meaning of this? Actually, see, this is our Python program. Now, this is our Python program. And in Python program, you can directly write a logic without creating a function. This is the very first point. See, I'm just creating a variable x is equals to 10 and not providing the type of the variable. See, we are not providing the type of the variable. In a statically programming language, firstly, we must have to decide their type. Like in Java. See, in Java, this is the Java program actually. Firstly, you have to create the class, then you have to create the main method, then you have to write the logic. In Python, we have also facility to creating the class, we have also facility to creating a function, but they are not forced. They are a choice of the developer. If you wanted to create a class, you wanted to create a method, then you can write the logic. But if you don't want to create a class and method, it totally depends on the developer choice. Yes, they are not forced by the programming language. But in Java, it is forced by the programming language. First, you have to create the class, then you have to write the logic. And you have to specify the type of the variable. Yes, this is a type of variable you must have to specify. What is the type of this variable now? It is the integer. And if you want to assign a boolean value to the particular integer type of variable, you will get the compile time error incompatible type conversion from boolean to int. You cannot convert. You cannot assign any kind of boolean value to the integer variable. Right? So this is the statically typed feature, statically typed nature. But if we talk about a Python, in a Python, this variable does not have their type. And if you are printing the type of the variable, see, this is the function into the Python type using which you can directly print what is the type of the variable now we are using. So if you are printing the type of variable, you can simply get this type is nothing but an integer. Yes, now this is the integer type. And if you wanted to assign the value directly, float value to the integer variable, so you can directly assign. Now this x having the integer variable type, but now this x is assigned to the float variable type. Means type of the data is going to be changed dynamically here. Yes, this is the very interesting concept in a Python. We can dynamically change their type. So definitely, if data type are going to be changed dynamically, performance is going to be decreased. But this nature is very useful when data coming from the various sources and is stored on the data processing operations. If we talk about the big data, so in big data is coming from the various sources, and various sources, data getting from the various sources are which type we don't know. So in this case, this is the very interesting concept. In this case, very useful concept in a Python. We can process this data, either it is integer type, or it is double type or boolean type or list type of data or collection type of data, like coming from the various sources, we can simply process it, right? So in case of big data, this is very useful, but performance wise, it is not useful. Performance wise, this makes a performance poor of the application. Yes, this is the very first point of the dynamically typed programming language. You can dynamically change their type of the variable. Another point is, listen, if you are creating any kind of integer variable in a Java, like int x is equal to 10, so how this is going to be work in a memory? In a memory, this is your integer variable. Suppose integer variable in Java, the type of size of the integer variable is 4 byte. So 4 byte memory is going to be reserved into the memory, and 10 is going to be stored on this particular memory. And every memory having some kind of address like 001, right? So in statically typed programming language, what happen if you are creating any variable, if you are initializing any variable, so every variable is stored in a memory with address and some kind of name. What is the name of the memory is nothing but a x. Yes, So whenever you wanted to use the 10 anywhere in the program, you can simply use the X. X is the name of memory. This is the name of memory by which you can get that values. So you can say that in statically typed programming language, every variable have the direct value, right? Every variable can directly access the value of the specific address. But in case of dynamically typed programming language, what happen? Suppose you are creating x is equals to 10, right? So what happen into the memory? This 10 is going to be stored in a memory like this, and this memory also having address like 101, like this having also address, and is stored 10 over there. And what's the name of this memory? Name is not decided here. Yes, name is not decided here. So how we can refer this particular data? This X is stored in a separate memory location, in a separate memory area like this. This is another memory location for the X, who having own different address into the memory like 0, 1 and 1 like this. And on this memory X is going to be stored, right? So you can say that in Python, everything when you are creating is just behave like an object. Why? Because this 10 is stored in a different memory location, X is stored in a different memory location. And they are using the some kind of pointer concept. This X refer this particular data. This is stored in a different memory location, and this is stored in a different memory location. And this X is stored, this X refer this particular integer data. Means whenever you wanted to get 10, you have to use the X, and X having the address of this particular 10 value. So in statically typed programming language, every variable have direct address of every variable directly store the value of the specific address. But in a Python, variable does not store the directly value of the specific address. It stores the address of the specific value. This is the address, right? This is the address, and this X variable have address where this X value is going to be stored, right? Each and every time, in a first time, this X refer this 10, and now you are assigning the value 10.5 in this particular variable. Now again this particular 10.5 is stored in a separate memory location, and this X pointing to this particular 10.5 memory address. So this is the nature of dynamically typed programming language. Means in a dynamically typed programming language, variable does not having the direct value of the specific address. It having the address of the specific values. That's why every variable is a reference kind of variable inside the Python. So these are the feature of the Python. Now come to the next feature of the Python, that is Python is the procedural as well as object oriented programming language. Yes. So as I already discussed in an earlier slide, Python having the multi-paradigm programming facility. So means it having, there is no any limitation, no any restriction. You can only follow the procedure oriented or object oriented. You can also follow the functional oriented approach. You can also follow the scripting language feature. Yes. Another feature is Python is an interpreted language. So Python is an interpreted language. Interpreted execute the code line by line at runtime. This make debugging easy and the suitable for the beginners. This is also suitable for the beginners. It having a large standard libraries that provide a rich set of module and functional for the rapid application development. Yes, in a Python there is so many library. Nowadays Python is used very much in the industries just because of if you wanted to write write any kind of logic in a previous language like in C++ and Java, these logic suppose will take 100 lines. In a Python same can be done in a 2 lines. Yes, just because of their large standard libraries. Like this. Suppose you wanted to print a pattern from 10 to 45 in the alteration of 5, you can simply write this single line of code, and you can achieve such kind of facilities. You can use the for loop like this. You having a range function like this. You can use the print function like this. You can use the colon operator like this. Yes, so these are the features available in a Python. Also, suppose you wanted to take input from the keyboard in a Java. So in Java, everything is from the keyboard, which is taken from the user. This is nothing but a string. And if you wanted to convert it into the integer, so there is a wrapper class integer.parseInt. There is a wrapper class double.parseDouble. There is a wrapper class float.parseFloat. And suppose you are converting it from string to integer, so you have to write some kind of logic, integer.parseInt. And suppose you want to take a list from the user, so there is no any concept in a Java how you can take the list from the user, how you can take array list or vector kind of collection from the user. So in a Python, we having a function that is EVL. Using EVL function, if you wanted to provide any kind of input from the keyboard, this EVL function convert that type into the corresponding type. Suppose you are entering integer value from the keyboard, EVL function evaluate it in the form of integer and returns integer to the developer. And if you wanted to provide any kind of list from the keyboard, this EVL function get these values in the form of list and returns to the list value to the developers. So this makes developers so many easy. You can use the EVL function, and this is the not only EVL and range function only. There is so many large set of libraries by which application development is going to be simplifies. Another feature of a Python is a platform independent. And if a language is platform independent, whose program is compiled on one platform, same program can be executed on another platform. Means compile once, run anywhere feature. Yes, Python having compile once, run anywhere feature. You can compile the Python program on one machine, same program can be run on another machine. The expressive language. Means Python is a more expressive, means the more understandable and readable. That's why I am saying that if a person having LKG standard can easily learn the Python. It is a cross-platform and portable language. Portable means Wora, W-O-R-A, write once, run anywhere. Python can run equally on a different platform such as Windows, Linux, Unix, Macs, etc. So we can say that Python is a portable language. Come to the next point is the extensible. The extensible, it implies that other languages such as C, C++ can use to compile the code, and thus it can be used further in our Python code. It is an integrated language, means you can directly integrate our Python program with other languages like C, C++ and Java. It can be easily integrated with C, C++, Java languages. It is a scalable language that provide a better structure and support for the large program than shell scripting. So these are all features of Python. Now come to the point, what is the history of the Python? Python laid its foundation in late 1980s. And the implementation of Python was started in December 1989 by Guido van Rossum at CWI, Netherlands. CWI is the organization where this language is going to be invented. In February 1991, van Rossum published their code. And name Python is taken from the popular TV show BCC Circus. Actually, many people thinking about this, the name Python is taken from the name of snakes. But is it not true? It is a very simple and whenever van Rossum is going to develop this program, this particular programming language, he having in the mind, they wanted to make this programming language simple and easy, so that anyone can develop this particular, anyone can use this language and can develop the application. So he wanted to take a very interesting name, and which is so many popular. At that time, this TV show is very popular in the market. Just like a Kapil Sharma show nowadays Kapil Sharma show available in Indian industries, just like this. So they wanted to took unique name, which is interesting name and a funniest name that is like very much used in at that time. So BCC Circus used the Python Circus, whose name is Python, and the same name is taken like Python from there. So that this makes so many interesting for the developers. Python source code is also available at GNU, General Purpose Lessons. Yes, it is a source code is also available. And first version of the Python 1.0 introduced in January 1994 was released with a few features like lambda, map, filter and reduces. And Python 2 introduced in October 2000 was added with a new feature like least comprehension, like garbage collection system. Python 3.0, also called PY3K, it is introduced in 2008, was released. Yes, it is introduced in 2008. It was designed for rectify the fundamental flow of the language. Yes, ABC programming language is said to be a predecessor of the Python programming language. So these are all different versions available. Nowadays, Python 3.0 is very much used in the industries. Yes. Now come to the point, which companies are using the Python. All the MNCs nowadays like Google, Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, YouTube, Dropbox and Uber kind of MNCs are using the Python nowadays. So these are all MNCs who using the Python to develop their web application. Mainly they are using the web application and data analytics application as well. Now what is the limitation? Performance wise issue. Yes, just because of dynamic typed feature that's make performance very poor and not available for the mobile application development. Yes, you can develop the n number of applications using Python, but you cannot develop the mobile application using the Python. You can develop the desktop, web and enterprise application, data analytics application, IoT based application, but you cannot develop the mobile application using a Python. You must have to go for the Android or some kind of other technologies like React or something at all, right? And runtime errors. In a Python, every error is available at runtime. That's make so many irritation for the developer also. Memory consumptions also. So these are all limitations of the Python. Yes. Now what are the flavor available with the Python? If you are the C developer, so you can also use the Python to develop the any kind of application using C Python. C Python is like available for the C developer. And if you are the Java developer, you can use the Jython or JPython as well. You are the Ruby developer, you can use the Ruby Python also. And Anaconda Python also, Stackless Python also for the concurrency concept. Iron Python also, Win Python also available for the Microsoft Windows developer. So these are all various n number of flavors available with for the Python. Means Python is not limited to the specific area, right? If you are the C developer, you can also use the Python. If you are the Java developer, you can also use the Python, because you have a Jython also API, you have the C Python also APIs, so by which you can develop the Python applications. So these are the various flavor available with the Python. So thank you guys. If you really like this video, please hit the like button. And in the next session, we'll talking about how to grade the Python program in a various IDs. Thank you so much guys for watching my